You're watching E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. And this video we're going to review Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, or Godzilla Monster Planet, however way you want to say it. Netflix interpretation says Godzilla Planet of the Monsters. But I literally just finished watching it. Like literally, like the credits are still rolling on my left side of the screen. So here are my impressions and my review for the movie. I really enjoyed it. I really like this. I like the animation style. I like the story. It's a very different Godzilla story. Very different. Very refreshing. Very refreshing because, you know, this is a situation where humanity does not defeat Godzilla. They do not find a way to defeat Godzilla or stop him or put him in a suspended animation, if you will. There's no solution other than to get the fuck off Earth. That's really it. So yes, this review will contain spoilers for the whole movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, what are you waiting for? But if you haven't seen it, I would suggest coming back to this review after you've seen it. So yeah, look, this was really different, and I was very engaged from the very beginning, especially when they were going through the history of when monsters arrived on planet Earth. This movie is not connected to any other Godzilla iteration ever. Basically, the story behind this movie is that monsters made themselves known all at once for the first time ever. So there was no Godzilla prior to the first time he arrived on Earth in this story. There are other monsters referenced to and shown in the very beginning of the movie. Like they mentioned Hedorah and all these other monsters that basically attacked Earth on different cities across the planet. And it seems like once Godzilla appeared, that was the one they couldn't defeat. They couldn't defeat, all the other monsters they handled, they dealt with. But once Godzilla arrived, that was it. There was no answer for him. And basically what happened was once they hit a wall and they couldn't defeat him, these aliens came down to Earth and offered their services or offered to help get rid of Godzilla in return for humanity worshiping them as their god or something like that. But then Godzilla fucks them up too. He kicks their ass and basically forces a unification between the two races, between these aliens and between the humans, who eventually all leave Earth together in an attempt to find another planet to habitat. And then that's where the story kind of takes off from there. And then, you start meeting the characters. And I know the main character's name, but it's pronouncing it. That's kind of an issue for me. So, bear with me here because I'm going to look it up so I can get the proper pronunciation. Okay, yeah, I think it's Haruo Sakaki. So, we'll call him H so I don't butcher the name for the rest of the review. So anyway, so he's the main character, and he is got this vendetta again. I mean, it's definitely understandable. I like the fact that they have a character that's really engaged. Like you. All right, so like on one hand, you feel his pain. You know where he's coming from. On the other hand, he's a bit on the psychotic side, and he is. He's a little bit, but that kind of goes in tail with the story because what we find out later is that the rest of the humanity and these aliens have been traveling through space for 20 years looking for a new planet. And obviously over time, people get depressed. The human body is not supposed to be in space that long. You have people that are turning against each other, killing each other. Some people have committed suicide. All these bad things. Your basic apocalyptic scenario, only it's not apocalyptic on Earth. It's in space because they have not found a planet yet. People are going nuts. And then it still kind of remains questionable. Maybe it's something we'll find out later. But in the early part of the movie, H is basically under the impression that the powers that be on the ship want to intentionally kill the older people, so that way there's more resources left over, there's more room, yada, yada, yada. Then the majority of the older people that are all like pretty much gathered in this one ship, this one vessel that they want to go off on kind of, I guess, their own little mission to see if they want to land on a planet and see if it's habitable or whatever. And H thinks it's a trap to kill them. And they talk to him, it's like, no, it's not. The older people, this one man is kind of leading the way for the rest of the people on that on this little vessel that's going to leave the main ship. And he's telling him, look, before I die, I would rather die on solid footing. I don't want to die floating around in space. You need to not worry. This is something we want to do. So because he was insubordinate, H gets locked up. The ship takes off, and H is watching the ship from his cellar, and then the ship blows up. It's questionable as to whether it was an accident or intentional. There is no laser blast or anything that comes from the main ship. But it's enough to make you believe it could go either way. Either it was an accident genuinely, or if you choose to believe H and what he thought, maybe it was a little bit, excuse me, long morning. Maybe it was believable as far as what H thought, which is, I think this was a setup. So be that as it may, from there, the story just goes. H is locked up. Everybody on the ship is just, you cannot get any lower than what these people are right now. They're barely surviving on resources. They've been in space once again for 20 years. The alien race and the humans are working together. There is no worship, but the alien race has heavily encouraged, if you want to use that term, the humans to pray to their god and things like that. But it doesn't seem like it's forced. Like there's some people on the ship who have taken the religion of the aliens, and there's other people that haven't. Right now, at this moment, this doesn't cause any conflict. It's just some people do, some people don't, and that's okay. Perhaps later we'll see, because the aliens, towards the end of the movie, I'm getting this idea that the aliens, especially one particular alien, they knew about God. They don't directly say it, but they're kind of hinting that the aliens have some sort of knowledge of Godzilla, even though we have to wait till the next two movies, but that's just what I gather. So anyway, they go and after he gets locked up, you find out that H has been demising a plan to try and defeat Godzilla. He's coming up. He's been studying and researching past battles that they had against Godzilla before the humanity left, things of that nature, going over his biology, and he believes he found a weak point. And this is what I really like. They kind of get into this detailed explanation of how it is Godzilla can engage in a battle without taking damage or without, visually seeming like anything that hits him matters. They mentioned in the story that they dropped like 150 nukes on him all at one time, and he came out like chilling, and it was just great stuff. The way they went through the scientific explanation of how everything went down with Godzilla, and come to find out that he generates a shield around his body when he's being attacked, and he has massive regeneration. We've always known Godzilla's regenerated in the past, but in this movie, not only does he regenerate, but it's so rapid that their window of opportunity to take out the portion of his body that develops this shield is like minuscule. Like they have to do a timing attack on Godzilla. Excuse me, timing attack on Godzilla in order for them to be able to take him out, or presumably have a chance to even do damage to him. So really, and they go through a pretty intricate process of explaining how this happens, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. This is actually good. I mean, we all know it's fiction, but they do a good job of explaining it in such a way that makes it sound like it's like a reality. So I like that. Once again, I like the animation. Animation was really, really good. And the story was good. The story was decent. You know, I think the H character, I thought the character was fine. I just felt sometimes, because I watched it with the English dub, and I felt the voice actor for the English dub was just too, I don't know what word to use, but sometimes just overdid it. Like he overdid it. Like he was too, you know, and I get it. You want to kind of make the character sound a bit psychotic because it makes sense. If you're in space for that long and he's developed nothing but hatred for Godzilla throughout all the years, so it's a lot of built up frustration. But I don't think the voice actor was very good when he got to those emotional levels. Other than that, like during normal conversations or normal interactions, he was fine. But when he got to the more intense scenes where the emotion takes over the character, I don't think he delivered it very well, the voice actor. But again, that's just, you know, that's one of the imperfections. Godzilla himself, now, this is where it gets good, because we don't see a lot of Godzilla in this movie. Of course. That's not a complaint. This is something we're very used to. If you've seen 2014, obviously Shin Gojira is the same way. In fact, a lot of the better Godzilla movies, you don't see him very much. There are some Godzilla movies you don't see him very much that are garbage. Godzilla vs. Sea Monster comes to mind. But no, this was good. This was good because they really gave you a good portion of the story before we got to the good stuff. And the story I thought was good. So it turns out they want to come back to Earth. They don't find a planet. They estimate that by the time they get back to Earth, about 1,000 years would have gone by. When you take into account light speed, oh my God, guys, I'm so sorry. But I normally would edit these out because I've done this in the past, but I'm yawning too much because I've basically been up since like 5 o'clock in the morning and it's now 11:30. So it's like my body's telling me for a nap. But, so anyway, so obviously if you know the theory of relativity and the theory of traveling at light speed, the theory is that when you travel at light speed, for you personally, time goes by in a different way than it would on the planet in which you're traveling to or from or whatever. So even though these people have only been in space for 20 years, their time, they've been away from Earth this long. So they return to Earth. 1,000 years have gone by. They sent out these probes, which I thought was cool. The probes really can't give the information they want, but it does give enough information for them to know that Godzilla is still on the planet. So they basically devised this plan to go with H. H is the one that came up with the plan. One of the ambassadors from the alien race, and I forget her name right now. Anyway, she is encouraging them to release him from jail, from prison, and please go, let's go with this plan. Because it's either this or we just rot in space till we die. Paraphrasing, of course. They don't say this stuff word for word, but you get what I'm trying to tell you. So they agree to not only release him, but go with his plan. They're very reluctant because it is a timing attack, which means if you're off by like half a second, it's not going to work. But they figured this is the best shot they got. So they decide to go to the planet. And when they arrive at the planet, they realize, at some point, once they get to the planet and they use the probes, they realize they haven't been away for 1,000 years. Based on the information they did gather from the probes, other than the fact that Godzilla's still on the planet, they've actually been gone for 10,000 years. So they're like, holy shit. So how did this thing survive for 10,000 years? Blah, 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 blah. So they finally send the team down to the planet, a team of about 600 to 700 people. And all these people are supposed to the plan is to find Godzilla, engage in this plan to take out the organ that's generating the shield in his body, so that way they can defeat him. So they go down to the planet and they do some recon work, only to find out that it hasn't been 10,000 years that they've been away from Earth. It's been more closer to 20,000 years based on copper coating that they got from the fauna, from the plants. So they're also dealing with the atmosphere, which you now start to realize that Godzilla has an effect on the planet. He is not you know, traditionally, he's the Godzilla we know, but he lets off this radiation. And this is not the first time we've heard this. We heard this in Shin Gojira as well, that he has a small radius around him where he releases radiation. So anything surrounding him is affected. Well, in this case, the plants are affected. And over the course of 20,000 years, with this monster walking the planet, he's pretty much contaminated the planet. Now, so the plants release like a pollen in the air that lets off this thick fog. So it's kind of semi-blocking the sun. Like, it's not nighttime on the planet. It's like overcast. It looks like it's going to rain all the time. The plants also have changed. Like, if you're not careful, some of the plants are sharp so they can cut you. Like, this guy took one, like a little metal thing, and he banged it against the leaf of a plant, and his metal thing broke, and the plant didn't even move. So just a lot of changes that happen on the planet, not only because of the aging process, but because of the effects of Godzilla worldwide. That's why I got to call him Godzilla worldwide. Boats and hoes. So come to find out also that there are other species on the planet. Now, these monsters are similar to Godzilla in their composition and everything, but they're like little dragons. They look like little dragons, and they surprise attack the crew. So it's just, I mean, I really enjoyed everything that was happening in the movie. It's not a long movie. It's 88 minutes, so it's about, a little over an hour and a half, which I thought was fine. And finally, we come to find out at the end that the plan they execute does work. They do manage to get the dorsal fin, which they found out was the area where he was generating his shield. They got that off, and they destroyed Godzilla. Or so we thought. So it turns out that through time, one of the doctors were talking to H, saying, in 10,000 years, for him to look the same and act the same and everything's the same is not normal. I don't think this is the Godzilla we thought he was. I don't think this is him. I think this is an offspring. And H is like, there's no way. And just as he's saying that, there's this huge earthquake, and the real G shows himself, and holy shit, he is ginormous. And, this movie, I gotta say, if you guys remember when I was talking about my past, thoughts on the design and all that, I said, I have to see it in action before I can really judge whether or not I like it. And I gotta say, I like the design. There's something about this Godzilla that is so scary, despite the fact that he doesn't necessarily look scary. The enormous power he is given in this movie, and when I say power, I'm talking about just his sheer movement. Forget the breath. We'll get into that. His movement, is literally shaking up. I mean, yes, you would think, oh yeah, well, he's big. Of course he's going to shake. No, you don't understand. This Godzilla, the way they portray it in the movie, the way he moves, everything he does, he did this tail lash that basically just fucked up the whole forest. Like, he just moved slowly and then whipped his tail for just whipped it. And like the whole forest just fell flat, and he did it in such a way that caused such a sonic boom that everything went up in fire. All right. Then he blows, he had his atomic breath has evolved into some sort of combination of an EMP slash atomic breath with this whole, the portrayal of power that this Godzilla has in this movie is new. This is a whole new thing. You have your basic same sets of moves, your tail whip, your breath, and they just magnitude them to the 1/1,000,000th power. And even though the Godzilla that we see in the trailers and all that, that's not the Godzilla that pops up at the end of this movie. It's the same design with little features that show that over those 10,000 years, while he is immortal, he has aged. He has aged. He does age. But the design is different. The Godzilla that you guys have seen in the trailers up to this point is not the one that they show at the end. The one that show at the end he's huge. He's extraordinarily powerful. And while the design is very similar, you still have that kind of old man face. It almost makes a little bit more sense with him. Now, even the other Godzilla that they managed to kill, he was powerful in and of himself. Because throughout the movie, that's the kind of Godzilla they show. The only difference is that the one that they fought at the end was an offspring, where the one that they showed at the beginning was the original. Both look the same, but the reason for the change is that 10,000 years have passed. So, of course, the offspring is going to look like the original one, but the original one has gotten bigger and badder and stronger. And you can assume that he woke up because one of his offspring got killed. So, very, very good movie. I'm very excited for the next two parts. Yeah, man, it was good. It was good. I like the story because it's very different. It's really nothing they've done before in terms of the story. I do like the main character. I don't think I'm too crazy about the voice actor, but in terms of the character and his motivations, make perfect sense. You know, and there's going to be some subplots in between. You know, what is going to be the alien race? To me, I think there's more than meets the eye there. I mean, yes, they're working together, but I have a feeling they knew about either monsters or Godzilla in general. Because towards the end, the woman is talking about like how she suddenly just reveals to them, even though they never said this to them in the beginning of the movie, she suddenly reveals that they had encountered other monsters like Godzilla on other planets that led to those races' demise. So they know something, which is, we'll see if that gets played upon more in the next few movies. But otherwise, man, this was a good one. I'm very, very happy with it. I thought it was really, really good. I like the story. I like the characters. I'm very happy I reserved my judgment for this Godzilla design because really the face was the only thing I was concerned about. But you want to know something? There is something about that dreary face and the level of destruction and power that this Godzilla has that just makes it fucking scary as hell. When you see what this Godzilla can do with an emotionless face, there's just that combination, man. This makes it very eerie, very foreboding, and I don't know how the fuck they're going to beat this Godzilla. I really don't. They struggled with the baby one. This other one, the original one from the beginning of the movie, is huge. So I don't know how they're going to do it. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure in a couple of months we'll get the second one, then the third one. But I'm very happy with it. I'm very satisfied. I thought it was really good. Perfect time in terms of the running of the movie. And definitely, obviously, very open-ended because we know there's going to be 3 parts. So this one, obviously, is going to end on the cliffhanger, which it did. I expected that. So not disappointed with the ending as well because, you know, if you know a movie has 3 parts, you can pretty much expect a cliffhanger at the end. But it was a very good cliffhanger. A very good reveal at the end. It definitely surprised me because I thought it was going to be one of those traditional, oh yeah, Godzilla, you think he's dead, and then he pops up. Well, this one, it kind of was like that. The only difference was the Godzilla they killed really did die, and what popped up was something far worse. So, anyway, guys, that's it for this review. Sorry for the yawns in between. Like I said, I've been up since 5 o'clock. So, my body's telling me to take a nap, but I'm not going to do that because I'm just not. Anyway, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comment section what you guys thought because I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. But until then, this is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. You can follow E.T.N on Facebook, Twitch or Twitter, or join the Nation Facebook page. Don't forget to click that subscribe button on your way out.